As an out loud reader, I'm easily frightened by unfamiliar words, chunks of foreign language, especially foreign proper nouns, dialect, and accents. This has prevented me from tackling, among others, Eliot's revered poem, The Wasteland, despite my love of his poem, The Love Song of J. Alfred Prufrock, which is number 127 in this series. I cannot attempt poems in the Scottish dialect, though there's a rich seam here. My son John has pointed me towards today's poem, After His Death, by Norman MacCaig, whose poem Small Boy is number 62 in this series. After His Death is about the legacy of fellow Scottish poet Hugh MacDermot, whom MacCaig hails as the greatest Scottish poet since Robert Burns. But he also observes, quarrels are food and drink to him. Vituperation is to him an art form. He enjoyed it, and he would slit your throat with a pen, but he would never brush your hair the wrong way round in real life. MacDermot was unquestionably a controversial man. As in 1972 BBC documentary Rebel Poet mentions, he was thrown out of the Scottish Nationalist Party, of which he was a founding member, for being too communist, and the following year joined the Communist Party, only to be thrown out for being too nationalist. He was certainly driven by a sharp and uncompromising independence of mind, which, once the toffs, the tyrants, and their leeches and lackeys were dealt with, was genuinely egalitarian. However, at core, he seems to have been inspired by a distant ancestral culture, almost as mystical as that of the more lofty Yeats, adherence to which possibly explains some of the wilder swerves in MacDermot's ideological and political career. Perhaps being born into an oppressed, proud history generally makes for a rougher ride through life than that experienced by those of us whose national history is largely a matter of shame. But back to MacCaig, himself no slouch as an intellectual and poet. He describes a stereotypical anarchist, throwing bombs and acid, polluting water, and broadcasting vicious words. Yet, in his wake, the world has improved. Even the authorities finally acknowledge the value of this dedicated shredder of complacency. To reinforce the paradox, when MacCaig writes the bombs razed buildings, he does not spell that verb R-A-Z-E-D. After his death. It turned out that the bombs he had thrown razed buildings, that the acid he had sprayed had painfully opened the eyes of the blind. Fishermen hauled prize-winning fish from the water he had polluted. We sat with astonishment, enjoying the shade of the vicious words he had planted. The government decreed that on the anniversary of his birth, the people should observe 2 minutes pandemonium.